Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV and welcome to Forbidden Planet TV new releases. With myself, Andrew Sumner. This is Forbidden Planet's book buyer, Laura Dodd, and we're joined today by the mighty Darren Wearmouth and James Murray, talking about the latest in the epic book series, and it's the third in the trilogy, Obliteration, right, lads?
There it is.
Yeah, come on.
Story. Darren and I finally finished the trilogy. Thank God. No one tells you when you start writing how hard it is to write a trilogy.
Right. I mean, it's just that commitment alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So guys, just so it's clear for everybody watching this, you're going to be able to link straight from this video to pre-orders for our signed book plate, our Forbidden Planet signed book plate edition, which Laura's been queuing up recently. And before we get into talking about the book, how are both of you guys doing?
We're great. I mean, we haven't seen each other in 7-8 months, buddy, right? Which is the hardest thing, is that I enjoy my friend, enjoy seeing him. He's in my bridal party, and I miss him. It's basically what it comes down to. I miss my buddy.
Yeah, I miss James too. I think my tuxedo probably arrived at your house yesterday.
I'm going to be wearing it every day until the wedding.
Trousers might be slightly short, but I miss James too. The first two books, we worked a lot together at James's place. I would come down. He's a great, gracious host, and I'm a pain in the neck, as a house guest. So he did well to put up with me. But we do miss each other. But I mean, everyone's in the same situation.
No, don't let Darren steer you wrong. He's an excellent house guest. For every third bottle of whiskey he'd drink, he'd buy me one. So I appreciated him giving back like that.
But James, let's be fair, I did buy you a bottle of red wine once.
You did? Okay, hold on. He bought. I leave for work. Darren, before I walk out to go film Impractical Jokers, Darren says, James, I know I've been drinking some wine. We've been writing together. I bought you a bottle of wine. I was like, wow, thank you, but that's very cool. We'll celebrate tonight. I come back from work hours later. The wine has been drunk. He drank the whole thing. He polished it off.
Yes.
I was like, that's my friend.
Yeah, that's what you need. Yeah, that's the Northern England for you, mate. You know what I mean? So I got so excited when I introduced you. I actually didn't mention the trilogy name, I mentioned the book name, which is the Awakened Trilogy, of course. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, James. You've now been involved with for about 14 years. Am I right?
Yeah, I wrote the first book, Awakened, in 2004 on a dare. I spent a year writing it, but this is long before Impractical Jokers. I sent it out to every publisher in New York City. It got returned to me unopened. No one would even read it, right? My mother read it, and Q from Jokers read it, and they loved it, but that's it. And it took getting on TV to get the book into the hands of people who could do something with it. And years into Jokers, I sent the same book, not a single word changed, into HarperCollins. They immediately bought it, and then they paired me up with my dear friend Darren, who's a far better writer than I am, and him and I whipped the first book into shape. And then we had such a great time polishing up the first book that I was like, maybe we do a trilogy. And we kind of brainstormed ideas. Where could it go? What could happen? And then they bought the trilogy, and here we are now 4 years later, buddy, 3-4 years later, and with the conclusion, Obliteration for the whole book series.
Yeah, amazing. And how does your process work? How do the two of you work together? How do you put the books together?
Do you want me to answer that? Okay, well, the first one James has already mentioned. The manuscript existed, so we just went through the editing process for Awakened. The first time I read it, I loved it. I love that. I mean, it's totally my sweet spot. How James wrote it with the creatures underground and action thriller. The second and third, I think the overarching concept James always had in his mind, and I think he come up with some of the key plot points while getting a massage one night.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
That sounds very sketchy. We should change that story. Let's talk offline about how to tell that part of the story. If we're going to be completely honest, I might have been drunk and I was a little bit hammered and came up with the plot for book 2 and 3, which was still pretty close to what it ended up being, right, buddy?
Yeah, he was very close. Like, and that's the process of how we do it. And then there's James undervalued himself before then, saying I was a better writer. He's better at me at a lot of stuff, like especially the dialogue, which you would expect because of his background, and the pace and everything like that. So we've both got
vice versa. Darren is better at description and world building and really fleshing out a scene so it's visual for the reader. I think the two of us together make one very good writer. Apart, we suck.
So yeah, I mean, we do that, and obviously leading on from that, there's definitely different scenes that we both were better writing ourselves, and we go over each other's work. And the funny thing is, sometimes we drop in an odd line that's completely not related to the book, just for each other. So, I mean, you have to go through it.
He does. Darren's got a little joke he plays on me all the time. He'll start writing one word that he repeats 100 times in the book just to annoy me, knowing that I'll go through. I'll pick up the pattern. After the third or fourth time he uses the word, I'll pick up the pattern and I'll be like, Darren, stop writing that word. You're overusing it in multiple chapters. And then he'll just sprinkle it in, and he'll think of ways to get it in without getting it. Right?
I love it.
And every now and then he sneaks one and gets it by me.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. Hey, I know that Laura's got quite a few questions for you. So
yeah, no,
Laura.
Definitely. So I was just going to start with, have either of you ever been trapped in the subway system? Is that kind of inspiration for the book?
Absolutely. I used to live in Brooklyn and commute like an hour and a half to work every day in the subway, and I lived on like one of the end lines of the subway that like, at night it's empty. And back like 15 years ago, the train would often lose connection with the third rail and you'd be plunged into darkness. So sometimes you'd be commuting home, hanging out with friends, whatever. It's like 2 a.m. There's no one in your subway car. The train goes pitch black and the air conditioner shuts off, so it's silent. The train comes to a stop, or they're waiting for the connection to start again. And you're like, oh my God, this is a horror movie. It feels claustrophobic. You already feel claustrophobic being underground. And that's really where the inspiration for the whole book series came from.
Oh, wow. Okay. You must have seen Creep then. You know the horror film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, one of my favorite, I love all those kind of movies, like Chud, if you might remember. There's a little Chud in these books. There's a little aliens in these books.
Oh, yeah.
Right. There's a little the Descent, the movie in these books. So we put in little homages to our favorite horror movies and action movies too.
Yeah, first chapter of Obliteration, Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's right.
Fantastic.
On the Brink.
I'm sorry, the first chapter of The Brink, buddy.
The Brink, right? Okay, yeah.
That's right. It's a direct homage to Nightmare on Elm Street, the scene with Johnny Depp, where Johnny Depp dies, right? Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, it's so good. I was just thinking as well, like last night, I don't know if either of you have ever played Broforce. It's like a game on PS4 at the moment, and you can be different characters from like 80s action films and 80s horror films. So you can be Ellen Ripley, or you can be Rambo, it's just so good. So go play Broforce. It's amazing. It's so good.
just the name alone is good. And over the course of the trilogy, guys, is there anything that you've sort of had to leave on the cutting room floor, as it were? That, anything that you've had to edit out, that there's a particular idea or concept that you loved that you'd like to go back to or explore in some other way?
I'll tell you, I think we are pretty economical with our writing, right, buddy? We put a lot of work up front into the chapter breakdown and work out in advance all the problems that might arise and try to make it as bulletproof in planning as possible. So I'd say that we write fairly economically, but what has often happened is while we're writing, we'll think of offshoots or stories where it could go that we never get, that we know we won't get to in the trilogy. Like we have an idea for a prequel to this, the beginning, the shadowy foundation, how it started from literally the end of World War II, when our evil, the Otto Van Ness starts the foundation that eventually, is responsible for hunting these creatures. How they started, what is the mythology behind all that? And then we have another idea for a standalone monster book that you don't realize is part of the Awakened world until literally the last chapter, when it all connects in and you're like, oh my God. It's like what was the sequel to you know the movie Split? The Split, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
It was essentially,
and it ties into Unbreakable. Yeah, I love it.
It's Unbreakable, and I remember seeing it in the movie theater. I stood up, I was like, "Oh my God!" You know.
Yeah.
We have an idea like that too. That is totally an outlier, and you don't realize it's in the world until the last chapter.
Yeah, I love that. I love those kind of like those stealth universe connections.
Yep.
I think that's a great thing to do. And you touched upon one thing I was going to ask you boys was that now that you've completed the trilogy and you've clearly got other ideas for the universe, but have you got any other ideas for other things that you might explore together or other concepts you're working on?
Coming out this October is our new book, Don't Move.
Nice segue.
I love it.
Hold on one second.
Oh,
Coming out next summer is our other new book, The Stowaway.
Oh yeah. And what can you tell us about both of those projects?
They're great, man. Don't Move is a thriller that takes place in the woods of West Virginia. It's about a church group that goes on their annual summer camping trip to this national forest in America. And what they don't realize is that this particular summer, they wander into the wrong woods. I'll leave it at that.
Right, yeah.
And The Stowaway comes out next year. This is a thriller. This is not horror. This is straight up thriller. So it's our first foray into a wider genre. This is essentially, I'll give you the whole plot of it, the whole hook of it. There's a woman who's a juror on a serial killer case. This man is accused of being a child killer, of kind of ritualistically murdering a number of children. She can't bring herself to find him guilty, and it's a hung jury. As a result, the guy goes free. 2 years later, she's on a transatlantic cruise with her boyfriend, with her fiance and her child. And halfway across the Atlantic, they're 3 days in any direction from land. Halfway across the Atlantic, she starts to notice the killer's MO from the case that she was a juror on 2 years earlier. Little things, symbols that he carved, bits and pieces of information that only she knows as a juror, she starts to see materialize around the boat. And she comes to realize that either the killer's on the boat or somebody's messing with her or it's a copycat. But she believes that kids are going to start disappearing. And halfway across the Atlantic, sure enough, they do.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
that's the first foray into pure thriller territory, not horror. So
I love it. I mean, it seems to me that in addition to making a great book, that's a concept that's got a lot of legs in terms of where you can take it into a movie or to a TV presentation.
Precisely the plan. I think these are both great movies. Don't Move is a great standalone horror movie, and then The Stowaway is a great big feature film. With a great strong heroine in the movie that she has to stop this guy and correct a mistake that she may have made 2 years earlier. It's great stuff.
Fantastic. Who is it? The same artist you've got on the cover of the Stowaways you have on the
no, they're
different.
They're different publishers, entirely different artists. But I think that Darren and I are developing kind of our own style, which I love. Like if you look at we kind of set the style with Awakened and our names here, and then we kind of refined the thing here, and then Obliteration we are matching the kind of style of it, and then Don't Move is follows the same pattern, and so I think we're kind of developing slowly our own visual book style, which I love.
Yeah, and who is on the Obliteration cover? Who is the artist who drew that great image?
Forgive me, I don't know the gentleman's name, but he nailed it on. He did The Brink and he did Obliteration, and he nailed.
It's great.
It's fantastic.
It's really great.
This I think is such a catchy, bold cover. It literally they sent it. Same artist. Forgive me, I don't know his name. We've never met, but he was for HarperCollins, and just nailed it. It's just so catching and visually arresting. And then they had a different artist do Don't Move, which I love too, because it reminds you of those 80s slasher films, you know? It kind of has this retro feel to it and just pops. And the book will actually glow in the dark too. The cover.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, right. Now, given the energy and the pace of your work together and all the pop culture references, have you ever thought in terms of comic books and what you might do, you know, in that kind of environment?
Yeah, Darren?
I mean, I haven't. I'd love some of these to be in a comic, but it's not really my sweet spot.
I think we talked about doing a graphic novel for a while, right, based on the Awakened Trilogy, because it is certainly in the realm of like aliens, things like that. I could see doing that. I don't know if we'd ever venture into pure comic book territory, but really the focus has been developing these into movies and TV series. So we have these killer, essentially graphic novels, decks put together of all the books that we write that I have them around somewhere. They're around somewhere. These killer decks that are super visual. That's how we pitch all of our books as TV series and movies.
Yeah, right. I know. And the beauty of it is, even from, you know, just talking to you boys for 10 minutes, you know, you can really see how your properties work, you know, at multimedia, how they can easily move into TV and film. You know, I think they're all in the DNA, which is you know, it's such a great way to approach it, to have it all there in that package like you've got. Laura, we're almost out of time for new releases, but I know you've got a few more questions you want to ask.
Yeah. So talking about film adaptations, if you had to have Awakened turned into a film, who would be your dream director to do that?
I think J.J. Abrams would kill this trilogy for sure. I think his work in Cloverfield is right in the spot for this for sure. I think. Darren, who do you think would play the characters? We've had this conversation a lot.
Well, I mean, I think I'd play a good hero.
So you have to work on your New York accent, though, buddy. You're the mayor.
Okay, no, don't make me do that.
Darren, give us a little taste of your New York accent so I can see what you'd be like as the mayor of New York.
It makes me cringe.
Be a little taste. I just need a little welcome New Yorkers. I just want to hear a little bit.
I end up sounding South African. I mean, it's. Oh no, I can't. I feel embarrassed. I'm
sorry to bring out your 921. I think somebody like Donald Sutherland would be amazing as Van Ness. Yeah. I think somebody like a slightly younger Andy Garcia would be fantastic as the mayor, if not Darren. I think I'd cast some of the Impractical Jokers to play some of the monsters.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Hey, Laura, got one more for us before we say goodbye?
Yeah, so is there Impractical Jokers Easter eggs in the book? Do any of the Impractical Jokers feature, and do they all make it to the end?
Very good question. The Impractical Jokers almost make it to the end. Sal and Q play the train operators in the first book, and they are heroes in the first book. Mm-hmm. But the character of Diego Munoz was originally named Dwight Andrews. That character was written after Joe Gatto. And he, I don't want to spoil anything because you have to read Obliteration to know how it ends, but he might not make it. It's been out a few weeks at this point. If you haven't read it, he dies. Anyways, there you go. And then I have a cameo in my own books, which Darren knows. In Obliteration, there's a cruise ship listing off the coast of San Francisco, and it's a themed cruise ship based on a popular hidden camera TV show that's, of course, named after the Impractical Jokers cruise that we do every year, with a lot of UK fans come on the boat with us. And the sole survivor of this unnamed TV show cruise, which is the Jokers cruise, is a balding middle-aged white guy who jumps off the boat, swims the shore, and speeds away from the city in his red Tesla, which I've never owned a car in my life, and I just bought a red Tesla a few years ago. So, yeah, I'm the balding middle-aged guy that escaped San Francisco alone from impractical.
That is brilliant. Hey lads, thank you so much. You have been watching FPTV New Releases with James Murray and Darren Wearmouth talking about Obliteration, the third and concluding part of the Awakening Trilogy, which you can order from the links and order our FP Bookplate Edition from the links you see here. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you.
Mate, we really appreciate it. We do a longer strand, which is called FP Talks To, which we'd love to have you back for sometimes.
For sure.
Sometime, because we could talk through the whole trilogy and give a bit more time for your other projects as well, which all sound amazing, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's great to see you guys. I hope you'll be back there soon, hanging out with you in the store itself. Darren, I miss you, buddy. It's great to see you too.
Yeah, you too. And no doubt I'll speak to you before your wedding.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Take care, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.